Now, some of the bad. The media, or parts of it, I will have to say that, parts of the media are constantly trying to find two leaders who disagree, two chief medical officers who contradict each other, someone who says something 1% different than 5 minutes earlier. There seems to be this sort of cultural battle about which TV station or which media organisation is more reliable for the facts. No one's lying to you about coronavirus. So, again, ignore all of that stuff. But today, there seemed to be some moaning about the chief medical officer, that supposedly the chief medical officer, who is the expert, mightn't be the greatest television performer we've ever seen, but the chief expert in this area is kind of copying it from some areas. In fact, this was from the Daily Mail, who seemed to sort of buy into this whole idea that we're not doing enough now, time for a second opinion. Also, the concept about whether or not when somebody like Peter Dutton was exposed, all the Canberra Columbos trying to work out who was where 2 days before and 3 days later and 1 day and carry the 4. Look, the people that are giving the advice are giving the best advice. The country is working that regardless of whether it's Team Red or Team Blue, state or federal, there is a national cabinet where all the people in charge of all of the states who have all of their advice are listening to the advice of the chief medical officer. So I'm not going to snipe about some things which might slightly contradict each other when these people are making huge decisions. Because when we decide to pump the brakes or close down this part or shift away that part, you've got to know what the consequences of that are. And for those that are pleading tonight on Twitter, yet another example about how Twitter's not real life, that I need you as Australians, until we receive advice otherwise, if you get your lawn mown by someone, please keep doing that. They're casual workers. Those people need those wages to pay their bills. If you get your hair cut, don't put it off for 3 months. They need the money as well. If you've got a cleaner, keep them coming around even if you ended up being at home, not because you were sick, but because maybe you're a little bit afraid. Trust that we don't have to shut down all schools right now, because just like when it's raining outside, they're probably going to keep the kids in their classrooms in clusters of 30, not clusters of hundreds and certainly not 1,000 students all milling around at one place at one time. The school I went to was the first one to ever be closed down, Epping Boys High School, just up the road from our studios. And they shut down for just 1 day. There will be other changes. There will be a point in time, probably around winter, where this starts to really pick up, because that's what happens in winter. Ultraviolet light and heat, the hotter it gets, the worse it gets for the virus, but the colder it gets, well, that is going to become a problem. But the idea that we turn everything off and everyone can take 2 weeks off doesn't work. It doesn't work for the people who need the wages. I've got family members who are told that they're not required for their casual job at a movie theatre at the moment because people aren't going. Now, this doesn't mean carry on, there's nothing to fear, but it does mean don't hit the brakes too early, because if you hit the brakes too early, you will deny your fellow Australians their ability to pay their bills. So it's all good for people who have a regular and steady job in the media or a regular and steady job in politics. But for the millions of Australians who don't, we need to show the same spirit that they are doing, say, in Italy, and being aware that the other person is just as scared potentially as you are, but also has just as much right to pay off their house as you do. And we shouldn't deny them that right until the medical officials start to tell us that's where we need to go, and we don't need to go there now.